Monday morning, August 22nd, 2022, 10:30. I wrote a book, Who's the Greatest? Baseball's All-Time Player Matchups. I've got 38 chapters. This video will be an overview of this book. The next episode will be episode 500, a milestone for me. 500 is a round number. So I'll make that a very classic special video. This one, overview. What do I mean? What do I mean by matchups? Take two players, match them up with their career achievements. For the hitters, I did 25-player matchups in a certain category. For example, home runs. I took the top 25 home run hitters of all time, so forth. So in the hitting section, chapter 1 was home run matchups. Babe Ruth won the matchups. Next chapter was career average matchups. Ty Cobb won that one. Runs scored matchups. Ricky Henderson has the most runs scored. He did not win the matchup. Runs batted in matchups. Who has the most? Henry Aaron. He won his matchups. He had the most wins in the matchup. In fact, what I'll do is I'll tell you what their matchup record is according to the category. Chapter 1, home run matchups, Babe Ruth. What was his record? 24-0. Top 25 batters or hitters with home runs, and he beat 24 of them. Career average matchups, that was Ty Cobb, 366 lifetime batting average, so he's number 1. The next 24 players, how did he do against them? 21 wins, 2 losses, 1 tied. So Ty Cobb won that matchup. Chapter 3, runs scored matchups. Ricky Henderson's number 1 with 2,295 runs scored. How did he do in the matchups? Not good. 0 wins, 23 losses. And 1 tied. He has the most runs scored. The next 24 players with the most runs scored. He only tied 1 of them, and he lost 23 times. Not a good showing for Ricky there. The next chapter was runs batted in matchups. Henry Aaron's number 1, 2,297 runs batted in. How did he do in the matchup? 16 wins, 7 losses, 1 tied. So he won the majority. That's the word I'm looking for. The majority of the matchups. 16 wins, 7 losses, 1 tied. What did I do next? Chapter 5, triples matchups. Sam Crawford has the most, 309. How did he do in the matchups? 10 wins, 13 losses, 1 tied. So he lost more than he won in the matchup. Sam Crawford. Continuing. Next chapter, doubles matchups. Tris Speaker, 792 doubles career. How did he do in his matchups? Good. 21 wins, 2 losses, One tied. Very good for Tris Speaker in the doubles matchup. Next chapter, singles matchups. Pete Rose, most singles, 3,215. How did he do? Not good. 6 wins, 17 losses, 1 tied. So he lost more than what he won in the matchups, according to the top singles hitters of all time. What's next? After singles, we got into total bases matchups. Henry Aaron. He has the most, 6,856. How did he do in matchups? Good. 17 wins, 7 losses. So that was Henry Aaron. Total bases matchups. Next, chapter 9, slugging matchups. Babe Ruth, number 1 slugger, 690 career. How did he do in matchups? 24-0. He beat all 24 players after him who have the highest slugging percentage. Chapter 10, on base matchups. Ted Williams leads, 481 career. How did he do in matchups? 19 wins, 3 losses, 2 tied. Good showing for Ted Williams. Next chapter, 11, base on balls matchups. Ricky Henderson. How did he do? Not good. 6 wins, 18 losses. Ricky has the most walks, 2,190. But when you match him up with the following 24 players with most walks, 6 wins, 18 losses. Chapter 12, runs, 100 runs batted in seasons. Who had the most? Well, it's a tie. Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, and Babe Ruth all had 13 seasons, 100 or more runs batted in. But I put Lou Gehrig number 1 because he has the best ratio of runs batted in per game played. How did Lou do in the matchups? Excellent. 23 wins, 1 loss. Who did he lose to? Babe Ruth, the Bambino. So that's that matchup. Next, chapter 13, highest average in a season matchups. Hugh Duffy, best batting average in one season, 440. How did he do in the next 24 players with the highest batting average in one season? Not bad. 14 wins, 8 losses, 2 tied. Hugh Duffy, 440 batting average. Next chapter, most hits in a season matchups. George Sisler, 257 hits, 1 season. How did he do when he matched up with the following 24 players? 11 wins, 13 losses. More losses than wins for George Sisler. Chapter 15, 200 hit seasons matchups. Who had the most? Pete Rose had 10 of them. 10 200 hit seasons. How did he do in the matchups? Not very good. 1 win, 20 losses, 3 tied out of 24 matchups. Why? I don't know. Pete had a lot of excellent numbers in his career, but he only won 1 in the matchups with the following 24 players who had the most 200 hit seasons. His only win was Lou Brock. But he tied Gwynn, Guerrero, and Clemente. But all these other guys, they beat him. So that's that matchup. Chapter 16, career hits average per game matchups. Ed Delante, 1.41 hits per game played, average for career. 2,500 hits in 1,800 games. More than a hit a game, average. How did he do in his matchup? Good. 20 wins, 4 losses. Chapter 17, most runs scored in a season matchups. Billy Hamilton scored 198 runs one season. How was his matchup record? 14 wins, 9 losses, 1 tied. Not bad. More wins than losses. Billy Hamilton. Chapter 18, runs batted in a season matchup. Who has the most? Hack Wilson, 191 runs batted in one season. Match him up, not good. 8 wins, 16 losses. Hack Wilson. Chapter 19, stolen bases matchups. Ricky Henderson has the most, 1,406. But his matchup record, 10 wins, 13 losses, 1 tied with those who have the most stolen bases. Again, more losses than wins. Chapter 20, 100 runs scored in a season. Most 100 runs scored seasons. Not most in a season, but most seasons 100 runs scored. Henry Aaron, 15 of them. How's his matchup? 14 wins, 10 losses. Too many losses for a guy like Henry Aaron. But he had more wins, 14 wins. Chapter 21, career hits matchup. Pete Rose, 4,256 hits. How's his matchup? 8 wins, 14 losses, 2 tied. When we get to the rankings, we'll see where Pete Rose ranks. But according to matchups, he's losing too much. All right, then, that was the hitters. Now I'm doing pitching matchups. Overview. Most career pitching wins, Cy Young, 511. How did he match up with the following 19 players who have the most wins? 17 wins, 1 loss, 1 tied. Very good. Who did he lose to? Christy Mathewson. His 1 loss was to Christy Mathewson, and then he tied Walter Johnson. Interesting matchup there. Cy Young. Most, let's see. That was wins. Chapter 24, career pitching strikeouts matchup. Who has the most strikeouts? Nolan Ryan, 5,714. How was his matchup record? Good. 17 wins, 2 losses. Very good. Chapter 25, career pitching shutouts matchups. And who has the most? Walter Johnson, 110 shutouts. And his matchup record, 17 wins, 1 loss, 1 tied. Who did Walter Johnson lose to? Bud Calvin. And then he tied Cy Young. All right, next chapter. Career innings pitched matchups. Cy Young, 7,356 innings pitched. And his matchup record, 17 wins, 1 loss, 1 tied. Very good. Next chapter, earned run average matchups. Ed Walsh, 1.82 career earned run average. And his matchup record, 12 wins, 7 losses. Chapter 28, pitching wins in a season matchups. Charlie Radburn won 60 games one season, and his matchup record, 12 wins, 7 losses. Chapter 29, most strikeouts in a season matchup. Not career, but in a season. Charlie Radburn, 441 strikeouts one season, and his matchup record, 16 wins, 3 losses. Chapter 30, pitching earned run average in a season matchups. Dennis Eckersley, 0.61 ERA, earned run average. His matchup record, not good. 6 wins, 13 losses. Because he became a relief pitcher, and that's why his matchup record has more losses. Chapter 31, most pitching innings in a season matchup. Charlie Radburn pitched 678 innings in one season. And what's his matchup record? 12 wins, 7 losses. Chapter 32, pitching complete games career matchups. Cy Young, 749 complete games. And his matchup record, 17 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. Very good. Cy Young. We'll see where he ranks. Chapter 33, pitching saves matchups. Mariana Rivera, 652 saves. His matchup record, 3 wins, 16 losses, because he's a reliever. He had to match him up with the other pitchers who have the most saves. And he only beat 3 of them. Hoffman, Smith, and Suter. No, Hoffman, Suter, Smith. 3 wins. All right, chapter 34. Pitching career games started. Cy Young, 815 starts. Matchup record, 18 wins, 0 losses, 1 tied. Ooh, Cy Young. Chapter 35, pitching career games started in a season. Not for the whole career, but for a season. Pud Calvin, 75, 1 season. And his matchup record, 18 wins, 1 loss. Who did he lose to? Who did he lose to? Cy Young. Pud Calvin. Chapter 36, pitching shutouts in a season. Not a career, but in a season. Pete Alexander, 16 of them. And his matchup record, 15 wins, 4 losses. Good. And the last matchup record, career winning percentage. Al Spalding, 795. And his matchup record, 8 wins, 14 losses, 2 tied. All right, that covers all the matchups in all the categories. See, in the hitting categories, I had 20 categories. Just to review, 20 of them. Career average, runs scored, runs batted in, home runs, triples, doubles, singles, total bases, slugging, on base, base on balls, stolen bases, 100 RBI seasons, 100 runs scored seasons, Most runs in a season, most RBI a season, highest average in a season, most hits in a season, most 200 hit seasons, and career total hits. 20 categories. 2 players matched up, and I gave all the records. And then in the pitching, I had 15 categories. Wins, innings, strikeouts, complete games, games started season, shutouts in a season, ERA, career, wins in a season, most innings in a season, most strikeouts season, best ERA in a season, most saves, and winning percentage. And I gave out all the matchup records. So what I did was, when I did all these matchups, for example, Babe Ruth 24-0, Lou Gehrig 23-1. Some of the other ones, Ted Williams and Hornsby, and some of these great players, Ty Cobb, Henry Aaron, Willie Mays. I went back to see what is their matchup records, and I ranked them. And that's going to be the focus of episode 500. 500. Who is the best hitter or baseball player of all time, according to matchups that I researched and studied? Not to boast, but I just looked at the stats and matched them up. Then who is the greatest pitcher of all time, according to matchups? See, there's a lot of rankings going on, a lot of top 10s, top 20s, top 100s in baseball. And people, they have an eye test. They use their eyes and they look at the player and they say he's better than the other player. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at the stats and the career achievements of the player and matching him up with other players. So if Babe Ruth has better stats than another player, would you agree with me that Babe Ruth is a better player? Even though one player may hit a lot of home runs and a lot of RBIs, and yet another player has a better batting average and more career hits, who's the better player? Is it the home run hitter or the career average hitter? The question I'm asking is, let's compare that home run hitter who has all the home runs and RBIs and all his hits and accomplishments, and let's compare him with the guy who has less home runs, yet he has more hits, more runs scored, stolen bases, so forth. So that's why I have the 20 categories in the hitter section. Because if you have 20 different categories and you match up 2 players, and one player has the majority of the wins in the category, is he the better player than the other one? You following me? 20 categories, and someone wins 11-9. He wins 11 out of the 9 categories. Is he better than the guy who only has 9 categories? That's the question I'm asking. It's a debatable question, because you can say, well, the guy who won 11 categories, what did he win? Well, maybe he won stolen bases, career average, he won RBIs, he won 100 RBI seasons, most hits, highest average in a season. The other guy's winning in home runs, triples, doubles, singles, so forth. Maybe he has on base and slugging. That's why I have the 20 categories, because it's up and down. If you win a majority of them, in my opinion, I think you're a better player in the matchup. So that episode 500, I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to rank This is going to be fun. I believe the number is like 165 hitters and about 76 pitchers. I will look that up to make sure I'm not missing anybody. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down from 165 all the way down to number 1 and rank them. Can it be done? And I'm going to do that with pitching. I'm going to go from number 76 ranked all the way to number 1. That will be subjective, but I'm going to do it according to matchups. Let's see what turns out. Stay tuned for episode 500. Talk to you later. I'm out.